Yeah, so hi again, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I'm looking forward to doing this little workshop really quickly. In case you don't know who I am, I'm Heather. I'm the CEO and founder of SalesFolk. I am a serial software entrepreneur, an investor, a copywriter for more than a decade, a former economist, and also more recently a rapper. I actually wrote a little bit of a rap that I'm gonna, not a full song, but a couple bars I'll do later. But what we're gonna be doing today is going over some cold emails that you guys sent in. You may know that SalesFolk email cold email Hall of Shame. I'm going to be much more gentle than I am with the cold email Hall of Shame, since these are not unsolicited emails to me that are bad. And plus, a lot of them aren't that bad. So let's get started. So the first email that I have is from, or it's going to pharmacy directors and hospital risk officers. I'm just going to open this in another tab really quickly. Oh, what? Oh, okay. That's weird. Oh, there we go. So just to look at it really quickly, I guess they're doing stuff with hazardous chemicals, hazardous drugs, and field services to help protect people and the environment. Okay. And the comment from the person was that they weren't able to insert their graph in the form. Just one thing right away, you really want to be careful with images when you're sending cold emails. Oh shit. Excuse me. When you're sending cold emails, because they won't always render, and also even if they do, it can trip up spam filters. So you really have to be careful with images as far as the text to image size ratio. So a lot of times I wouldn't actually recommend inserting a graph. You could link to a blog post or article that has your graph, but most of the time you should probably try to go without it. One thing that jumped out at me with the subject line, and a lot of the subject lines I've seen in the submissions, were that they're kind of long. This one as well, not the next one, but this one. And as far as the body goes, I'll talk more about the subject line in a second. I'm assuming this was, I'll actually turn on track changes. I'm assuming there was an I here and it just didn't get pasted in. Also, I'm also going to assume that it's not just one big wall of text and that there are like indentation and spacing in between. I know the form that it was submitted to maybe wasn't the best for that. But okay, so just looking at it, first of all, I'd say it's too long on the subject line. Trying to think, there's a few ways we could shorten it. I mean, you could literally do something like this. Study hospitals on, you know, something like that. And also, I don't know what HDs are. If the audience knows what an HD is, it's okay. But if you're not like 95% sure that your entire audience that you're cold emailing knows what that is, I wouldn't necessarily do that. And as far as like the exact length of a subject line, a great way to try to figure out is on mobile. Just sending yourself a draft. There's an exact character count. I think it's like 60 something characters roughly, as far as like where the cutoff is. But when you do subject lines any longer than that, they're not going to show up on mobile, and you have to assume a lot of people are checking their email on mobile. So you want to keep that in mind. Also, regarding subject lines are not titles of blog posts. You want to keep them as short as possible. Like this subject line is a much better length down here. But anyways, so I'm just going to read it really quickly. I won't read out loud. You guys can see it. And then I'm going to do some edits. So also, I'm not sure what PPP magazine is. I'm assuming the audience knows. But if they don't, you shouldn't necessarily be mentioning it. I think you don't, so I don't know if that's like an actual footnote. That wouldn't necessarily make sense in a cold email. I guess you could potentially link to it, but if you're not PPP Magazine, you might not want to do that because you're kind of distracting them. Overall, with this email and in general, a good strategy is to try to condense it and think, what is the main point? So just reading this, the main point seems to be around white studies. Okay, like an increase in, basically it seems like more hospitals are doing wipe studies. So I mean, there's a few different ways we can do this, but I think I'm gonna just do a comment. Main point, more hospitals are doing wipe studies. We could probably shorten that sentence a whole lot. Basically, every additional word or sentence that you have in an email that you don't need is information that is sabotaging you or decreasing your chance of getting it fully read and responded. So, I mean, even in general, I don't think you need this graph for this. I think you could probably just say in a sentence, it almost doubled. And you could say 21 to 34%, but that doesn't always sound like a big number. So I would, wait, so 21 to 34% would be, actually, no, it's not almost double. It's, that would be 10 and a half. So yeah, it's 62% like it says. I think, let's see, however, only 34% of hospitals performing white sampling. We still have, so I guess this whole email, I think is maybe not the strongest because it's talking about this survey, and frankly, like, there's a lot of data and stats and surveys out there that people do that I don't think are that interesting, honestly. And I'm not saying like I think the topic is not interesting, but rather, is this something that is going to surprise the people who are reading it? Like, what, it's sort of the so what factor. So instead, I would probably say, I don't know, let's see, there's a few things we could do. I'll just try writing something below. You could even say a little more conversational like this. And I'm assuming they're saying like, hi, so-and-so at the start. But let's say, did you see the July 2020 survey from PPP Magazine about the percent of hospitals performing wipe sampling? You know, like it showed an increase. We could actually just, instead of saying the exact number, 60, instead of saying nearly, a 61% increase in hospitals. And I don't know, like, is this performing sampling at all? Is it weekly? Is it regularly? I'm going to just put in brackets so they can confirm it. Let's say performing weekly wipe sampling. That could be changed because I did not read it. This is great, but still only 34%. Only, let's see, about 1/3, that's a little bit more like relatable to people, of hospitals are performing them. And then maybe like you have a point here about like drive importance of value of wipe sampling safety. But like, honestly, I would, probably focus the email more on something around that. I'll just make a little comment. Then I'll do like a fast call to action. This would be a stronger focus benefit. Okay. You know, so also I guess it's not really clear from this email what this business does or what you're offering. So it sounds like it's something related to testing. There's a few different ways we could go with this. This email is already getting a little long, even from like where I shortened it. But, you know, you could maybe say like, I have a few tips that can help, you know, this is like the hospital name, perform, I'm making this up, more compliant wipe sampling. I'm not an expert on wipe sampling, but that I might say something like that. So anyways, this is kind of like the before and after. As you can see, I want to move on from that one, but does anyone have any questions? Any questions you have, please do leave them in the comments. I hope you found this video informative and helpful. It's actually part of a much longer workshop video that we did that was about 45 minutes long. So in order to not have it be overwhelming, I chopped it up. This is part 1. I will be sharing part 2 and the other parts on this YouTube channel, so do be sure to subscribe, as well as to the SalesFolk blog and our email newsletter. Just go to salesfolk.com/blog. And you can also on the website sign up for our newsletter. Let me know any questions you have about cold email, sales prospecting, B2B sales, marketing, negotiation, persuasion in general, and I'll try my best to answer them in the comments as well as other upcoming videos. As always, happy cold emailing! Cheers!